rounding up the finals. And welcome everybody to ZATR Talk Radio. Sorry, it seems a bit all over the place. If you have tuned in a bit early, I've been running a test for the last hour, so things have been a bit... I've been playing some random, just a little bit of music, some of our loops. Our favorite Isabella telling us what we're listening to. And welcome. Sunday night, this evening, once again, as always, my co-host, Dr. Faiz Kirsten, and Dr. Zaida joining us this evening. Doctor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello,
yes. Well, welcome, Dr. Zaida. Well, thanks, Julian. Thank you very much for that. And welcome back from your trip overseas.
Thanks, man. Sorry that there were technical problems due to me not...
First, I must apologize to the listeners for the no-show situation last week. We decided to give it a miss after our technical difficulties in the previous week. But we're working on that, and I'm sure we'll get there. But Julian, tell us about your trip quickly. How was it?
It was good, eh? Traveling can always be tiring at some point, and I'm so spoiled as a traveler. Sometimes, most of the time, I travel for work, and everything is sorted out. So when you have to sort things out by yourself, suddenly you realize, yes, a lot of work goes into just making sure these trips run smoothly. But it was lots of fun. One of the highlights, seeing the Colosseum,
Ooh,
and it gave me a funny thought about the kind of show we do, and it just made me think, you know what? Actually, there is some part of me that gives thanks for the kind of slavery that we live within today, versus what people went down with way back in the day.
Yeah, that was real.
We have to be a little bit thankful. We have come a long way, as much as things are still a bit twisted, and the way we see things isn't ideal, according to us at least.
I think the kind of slavery we have today is more mental slavery.
Yeah, but I mean, still, when you compare the two, then it's just just thank goodness that we can still at least fight this one, and it's actually not that painful, and it's not. I mean, there are ways out. The more difficult part is that it's not so obviously a slavery. You know what I'm saying? It's so subtle that now it's to convince people, it's not much different from what that was. It's a difficult task. People don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
But that's. I mean, we can have another discussion about my trip and things that I think of.
We must. At some point, we must definitely have a discussion. I want to learn more. I actually thought you were on a working trip, and I must say that's a failure to communicate. I said you were on a working trip. I actually didn't know you went on your honeymoon.
I was actually on my honeymoon, yeah. So that was
I
lovely.
must have missed that point somewhere along the line. But anyway, welcome back once again, Julian.
I just went with it. Thanks. So yeah. What have we got lined up for tonight? I believe it's very interesting talking.
Tonight is Dr. Zaida Rivene. Dr. Zaida Rivene is a doctor of chiropractic and naturopathic medicine with homeopathy, integrated with quantum physics. I mean, that's a real, how to describe that. And she's been doing this since 1980. And, she practiced in California from 1981 to 2004. Then she came to South Africa and took some time off until 2006. And then she started practicing in Swellendam, which is a little, I don't know how little it is, but it's a town in the Western Cape, located between Cape Town and Port Elizabeth, and so nestled, by the Langenberg Mountain range. In fact, she tells me that she loves on a 23-hectare ranch in Swellendam.
Absolutely.
And also raises and trains and sells Egyptian Arab horses. I mean, that sounds fascinating. Dr. Zaida describes herself, as an exalted being, having fun, figuring out how this planet works while remembering her purpose. And she's going to explain to us tonight how you can heal yourself with quantum possibilities. So, Dr. Zaida Rivene, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for joining us. It's great to have you tonight. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to add a little bit for Julian that when you travel, what happens when we travel to all these different countries is that there's DNA information that pops up like popcorn. And because we're made of all kinds of information within our cellular level, so that information from the past. And so, Julian, I mean, you're full of everything that happened in Italy and in France and all that history. And it's so exciting. And, whatever attention we give to is what we manifest in our lives. So I don't know this thing about what you had just mentioned about slavery, but give attention not to slavery, but to a lot of freedom that we have to choose and make better choices in our life. You know what I mean?
Look at the other side of the coin.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's our choice, isn't it? I mean, we have a choice constantly. We're either going to come from fear or we're going to come from love. Yeah. So the opposite of slavery is an incredible freedom that we truly have to make better choices in our life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting point of view. Thank you for that, Dr. Zaida. Okay. Maybe I can ask you, what exactly does a me being a conventionally trained doctor, trained in the disease management model of allopathic medicine, which I've moved away from because I saw the serious flaws in it. But what exactly does a chiropractor do and a naturopath?
Well, the doing is one thing. I mean, we're in chiropractic, we want to take the structure and re-enhance it, put your structure back in alignment. So we're looking for interference, okay? Interference means physical interference, where we've had injuries and traumas in our body, and they imprint, they stay in the body until you start unraveling them. And as a chiropractor, I work from the top of your head all the way down to your toes, and I realign. We realign bones, and then muscles that connect with it, and the organs that involve with it, because your nervous system from your brain all the way down to your little toes is interconnected. And there's a power that runs through us. It is an innate power, a power that says that you have all wisdom, all knowledge of everything that is and everything that ever will be. And that's an innate intelligence that gets released through realignment. So chiropractic is about realigning structural aspects, and when you realign the body structurally, it releases emotional charges, it releases biochemical charges, it will release toxins and poisons, and the body starts to detoxify. So that's what chiropractic does, but it's based.
So it involves these sort of musculoskeletal aspect of who we are. Now, obviously, that's the tangible aspect.
Right.
Do you align sort of the intangible aspect, the energetic flow, would you say?
Absolutely. I mean, anything that you do really does involve the energetic flow of the part of you that is the intuitive, the spirit, the source. So you can move, you can do anything on a structural level, and you are going to have some kind of emotional release, some kind of intuitive release. So it just allows us to become better. So in chiropractic, we are doing a structural aspect to the body that has release in other ways as well, because you're composed of environmental issues that you hold in the body. You're composed of a lot of emotional charges that we carry in our body. And then we have a body that goes off structure. You know, bones move and shift because of traumas, physical, chemical, environmental traumas. And so we realign. You want to be realigned. That's one of the steps in bringing yourself to totality. That means all one. So there's a structural aspect to healing. There is a biochemical one. That means what you decide to put in your mouth. And we want to encourage, I've been working with patients for many years on nutrition and choosing foods that are in an alkaline way that turns into more alkaline than it does into acid. So you want to have foods that are photosynthesis, that go through photosynthesis, like fruits and vegetables and grains and nuts and seeds, and a lot of juicing. So I specialize mainly with chronic disease patients. So I use the Gerson therapy for the biochemical aspect to help with nutritional integrity for the body.
So would you say this is the naturopathic side of what you do? I'm getting a terrible feedback here.
Yes. Are you okay?
Yes, I just got some very bad feedback there. Is everything okay there, Julian?
Yeah, everything's okay. I mean, are we all on
Okay.
headphones here, though? We all got some
Yes,
headsets on, because that always helps and then gives us less feedback. And we try and mute our mics when we're not speaking so that we don't.
Yep.
We get a
Yep.
clean
I'm on
recording.
a headset.
Yeah, everything seems to
Okay.
be working fine. Our stream is holding steady.
Okay, great.
Thanks to the
Okay.
radio gods. Yeah, but you guys were saying?
Yes, so Dr. Zaida, this is the naturopathic part of what you do. Is that correct? When you talk about the diet, etc., the Gershon diet therapy.
Yeah, it's all one. I mean, there isn't just one naturopathic does one thing and chiropractic does another. It's all in totality. It's all one. So anything that I've studied, it really is about looking at the health of an individual in all four aspects. Structural, that means structurally realigning you. When you put bones back in alignment, then muscles get stronger and organs start to behave, because there's what flows through your brain and spinal cord is life force. Life force. But you've got a neurological organizational body which is so magnificent. You have this incredible brain, which is an electromagnetic mass, which is connected with a big wire, the spinal cord, and then you have all of these nerves that come from the spinal cord that go out to every bone, muscle, tissue, reflex, every cell in your body has a connection to that life force. And it's that life force that carries that innate intelligence that says that, your body knows how to heal itself. All we have to do is eliminate the interference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the human body, the brain alone is this unbelievable organ. It's so complex. It's big as belief, actually. And,
Well, it is complex. It is very complex. But the point of it is that in its complexity, it actually acts very much like a library. It's full of information, okay? But the heart is the most electromagnetically energized organ in the entire body. Even though we absolutely need our brain, it helps to pull in life force and does all kinds of things. But our heart is an organ that is the only organ that has its own concentric fields. Its own concentric field. There's no other organ that has its own concentric field. So we have a concentric field around us. The healthier you are, the larger this field is. It's like, imagine electricity running, okay? So if there's very little interference, that electricity turns into light, and you look like a light bulb. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So the heart is a place where your thoughts come together. You have thoughts. They connect with emotion, and there's only two emotions. That's fear and love. You choose. You're the one that's always in choice. So the first three chakras in our body, if you know the chakra system, the first three chakras are all about choosing between fear and love. And then the chakra 5, 6, and 7 is where our thoughts, our intellect, our reasoning is. And when we have a thought, we have a choice to come from either a fear or a love, and then you meet in the heart for the feeling. And that's where you either feel good, joy, excitement, enthusiasm, or you feel bad, and that's anger, resentment, irrationals, frustrations. So in this incredible body that we have, it is very well organized neurologically so that we can create exactly what we would love to have. You're all bountiful, you're all knowing, and you're all wise.
Yeah, I always marvel, at the power that makes this all possible, quite honestly. When I was doing a lot of research, on brain science and stress and a whole lot of other subjects in the past, I actually was quite astounded to learn that there's more nerves running from the heart to the brain than from the brain to the heart. And this comes from the Institute of Heart Math. Wow. You're probably aware of the work that they've been doing. Yeah. Stress, etc. I was quite astounded because I was like a big fan of the brain. I had this thing called the Brain Science Academy, and I was I really astounded to learn that the heart actually has more nerves running from it to the brain than the other way around.
Yeah.
So the heart is a vital, critical organ, actually. Yep,
yeah.
absolutely.
It's your emotional center. It's your feeling center. That's where feelings are come in. And there's a little difference between feelings and emotion. You have a thought, and any thought that you have, we have 50,000 thoughts per day. Can you imagine 50,000? From the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, you've got 50,000 or more thoughts per day. And then that thought carries down, and then you have to choose whether you're going to decide to have that thought coming from fear or that thought coming from love. And that's an emotion. See, that's an emotion. And then that emotion meets the heart. So your thoughts and your emotion meet at the heart center. And it's in the heart that you're either going to feel good or you're going to feel bad.
Yeah, I think that's a critical distinction one has to make between a feeling and an emotion. I think that was something also learned a while ago, that there's a slight difference between the two. Maybe you can just quickly expand on that, Dr. Zaida.
Well, we have thoughts. I said 50,000 or more thoughts per day. That's your imagination. And you know, imagination is actually the power that we have. You can call it Christ spirit. You can call it Buddha spirit. You can call it the spirit of Muhammad. It's like it's an imagination is a human creativity. So we have these thoughts. We're so blessed to have thoughts. So whatever thought you have, you can either come from a fear or you can come from a love place. So when you have a thought that, give me an example, Faiz.
I have thoughts all the time.
I just lost my train of thought there.
But I have those thoughts all the time, you know, like I tend to swing off into the negative and like, for instance, a crazy thought I have all the time is it's almost like I have this irrational fear of life being humdrum, you know, and it's like I'm not scared of that moment, but I think of like life as the whole thing, the whole package, and I let it get so big that it's like, what is the point of it? And then it's all over, and then you blink your eyes out, and it's going to seem like 5 years ago. This all happened like 40 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I'm just, I don't know. I don't know if I'm quantifying this thought that I have properly.
I wrote a book a while ago called Achieve Whatever You Want, you know, and I outlined certain techniques that you can use, you know, to achieve your goals. And one of them is called Kill the Ants. Now, you may think, what ants do you have to kill? And ANT stands for, it's ANTS, which is automatic negative thoughts. And a lot of people have those automatic negative thoughts every day, and those thoughts keep you back. So you need to kill those negative thoughts. And as you say, there's 50,000 thoughts going through your mind every day, and a lot of people experience. Most of them are negative in most people's minds.
But
you
can change that. You can change that because it's what you decide to give attention to. So if even using the word kill, I mean,
not a good idea.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's pop culture these days.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so pop culture. Everybody's like, "Oh, you're gonna kill it."
Yeah.
They're gonna kill it when they go there.
Use another word and give attention. How you can. Imagination is about giving attention to what you desire. It's not killing a thought or killing this or that or thinking that life is so big that the blink of an eye and you know you're done. It's about taking your baby steps. And you've got one day. Here we are. We wake up and we've got this one day. And how do I want to create my day? How do I want to see the Spirit of God in whatever it is that I'm doing? You know what I mean? I mean, this is my thought and this is my attention. I want to see it's what I decide to give attention to. And so when you decide to give attention to fear-based thoughts, then that's what the law of attraction is going to bring you. Because we're magnets. We're in the field. This is the field. And so whatever you think is what you're going to manifest. It's what's going to be magnetically you're going to attract. So just catch yourself. That's it. It's a practice.
But sometimes you can get so caught up in thinking on trying to not think negative thoughts that that it becomes like you're fighting your thoughts all the time because you're so scared of the negative thoughts when you realize that what you're thinking is powerful. And I find like a powerful thing just for me is like is just to give thanks. A few years, like once I have something and I've actually established it, like something like, for instance, like this radio show, let's talk about, like it was an idea once and now we're sitting here, we're talking on the radio show. So when I actualized it and I realized to myself that was actually just a thought that I had before we did the radio show. Right. You know, it was something that I wanted and something that I achieved. So I have to give that moment some sort of gravity so that I can acknowledge the power that I wield. You know?
Yeah, exactly. But
this all comes from like The Secret. I mean, this was kind of, I mean, I'm sure you know the movie The Secret and the book The Secret.
Oh, The Secret?
Yeah.
Is that what you just... Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I know the people that did it.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, a lot of the people like Candace Pert and a lot of the people that did The Secret are colleagues of ours in the U.S. And we would meet once a year in this incredible brain bank place in Montana, and we would do all this emotional releasing with one another called neuroemotional technique, Dr. Scott Walker's work. Anyways, when I came to this country, somebody sent me The Secret, and I looked and I thought, oh my goodness, it was like all the colleagues that I knew, Wolf and were in the movie. You know?
So you know everybody. So this is you could have easily been in it.
Jeepers creepers.
There's a bit of feedback we're getting from somewhere. Somebody got speakers on. It's because
really?
I don't know if all of us are on headphones because this feedback is. It just happened there once or twice. I don't know. Maybe it's me that's causing the feedback. Who knows?
Okay.
No. I've got headphones on, and I also hear the feedback, but I hear it through my mic, through my speakers rather. So I think it's on your side.
So you're thinking it's coming from me? Okay, because I've got a lot of cables here, a lot of wires, a lot of things going into a lot of places.
Anyway, look, I think these are important points here. The first thing I want to mention is that, for me, God consciousness is very important. We have to be mindful of that, which makes everything possible, the power. Otherwise, nothing would be possible. And I'm just always marvel at the way things work. The human body, I've been studying it for decades now, and it never fails to amaze me, actually. But I just want to play, and one has to think positively, obviously. That's the way the body works, the mind works. But I want to play devil's advocate for a moment here, Dr. Zaida, if I may. Now, they say that, thinking positively all the time is not a good idea. It's a sort of I heard people say it's a new age kind of way of thinking because there's a lot of negativity in the world. And if we turn a blind eye to negativity, then, we're part of the problem and we're actually contributing, to the problems that the world faces. So, for example, you may become aware that there's abuse taking place. Children are being abused. Would you then turn a blind eye and say, no, that's something very negative. I don't want to have anything to do with that. It's going to affect my thinking. I just want to stay positive. What does one do in a situation like that, Dr. Zaida?
We never want to ignore anything like that because I think that we're all working towards a world of peace. It's like peace is inevitable, but peace has to start inside of me. So in that way, I would say that give attention to what you want first. Give attention to something that's nice in your life, or what you can be grateful about. Start there. It's not just, positive thinking. It means that you've got some positive thoughts, but underneath that, there's a whole bunch of negative charges that your body's carrying that actually negate this one positive thought. You understand? It's like you're keeping yourself up in the thought part of you, which is what I just talked to you about in the chakra system. You have 7 chakras. The chakra 5, 6, and 7, which is choice and will, number 5, reasoning and intellect, number 6, and then grace and mysticism is the 7th chakra. That's where your thought is formed. So form a thought that you want to give attention to, just something that you appreciate. Start there.
I mean, but
And
that's
one
also,
thought.
sorry to cut, but that's why I thought my thought earlier was actually meaning to be quite a positive one. I mean, it might have come across that I was focusing on the negative, but I was actually saying, like, flip it around, and like, we have to be grateful that we've come so far. You know,
That's
there must
true.
be purpose to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, as much as we're not in the place that we think we really should be, well, we need to give thanks that we have come thus far.
Yeah.
You know, we're able to sit like this and use tools like the internet to spread ideas. You know what I mean?
We're evolving.
Exactly.
We're
We're
an
getting
advanced
there.
civilization, getting better.
Yeah.
You know, peace is inevitable.
And some of us just feel like we're ahead of our time, and it's a bit claustrophobic when you feel that way, when things aren't working like you think they should. Yeah.
I just want to come in here on the issue of thoughts versus beliefs, Dr. Zaida. Now, I always give the example of people I used to know who would, at the beginning of the year, say, consciously state that they're going to be going to the gym on a regular basis, this year. That's their New Year's resolution. And they would buy a membership for the year, but they wouldn't go one day.
That's me, Faiz. You're talking about me.
You're
talking about me, brother.
Let me add you to the list. I know a few people like that. So consciously they state, they're thinking consciously that they're going to go to the gym. This is my New Year's resolution, but they never go, even though they paid for that year's membership. Now, because they're holding self-limiting, self-sabotaging, subconscious beliefs.
Yeah.
Right. So positive thinking makes no difference in the situation because you're being, sabotaged and limited by your subconscious beliefs.
Yes.
So how does positive thinking then contribute to our lives in a positive way?
You need to take your thought and choose an emotion. The emotion is either you're going to come from fear and go, well, I'm not, and this and that, and I shouldn't, or you're going to come from love and go, I'm going to commit to going at least just once per week, and then build up whatever it is that you need to do. It's like, how does it feel not to go to the gym when you bought your ticket? When you bought a membership, how does it feel not doing it? It doesn't feel so good. It's like we need to decide to come from a better place, either to come from love in the sense of loving and kind of respecting ourselves. And that just takes baby steps. It's a baby step kind of thing.
Would you not say that you first have to identify all these negative beliefs that are holding you back, and then
if you were to spend time identifying all those negative thoughts, you would be overwhelmed with the negativity. Stop. Pick one thing that's good. Give yourself one thing that you appreciate about yourself and start there. And how does that feel? And then pick two things and work that way.
So it's like a structured approach to your thinking. Let me put that way.
Yeah, start deciding that you're going to go downstream rather than go back upstream and hit yourself up the head. You know what I mean? It's like pick one thing and work with one. Add a second one. What is it that you appreciate about yourself? What is it that you're appreciating about your life? Because if you're going to turn and give attention to everything that's not working, I'm going to tell you, you get overwhelmed. You don't go to the gym. You don't do anything. Stop. Have a pause. Pick one thing that you appreciate about yourself. Start there and start feeling good about you.
So that brings me to the question then, what exactly then is quantum healing? I mean, you have a patient, say, who has cancer, for example. Because I know you say you facilitate people who intend and are responsible in their desire to heal themselves,
Yes.
Using various modalities, structural alignment, biological, nutritional integrity with Gershon, etc. So how would you describe then this quantum healing process, let me call it that you take a patient through?
Well, I take a patient through structural realignment. That's very important. We have 19 steps where we take all the bones and muscles and organs and reflex and circuitries, and we start connecting, okay? Then we have the biochemical food, nutritional alignment, and that I use the Gerson therapy. In 1928, Dr. Max Gerson discovered the cure for chronic disease and cancers. This was in 1928, so the cure is there already. It's feeding yourself foods that are alkaline foods. So there's a lot of juicing, very simple foods to digest, like oatmeal and potatoes and vegetables that are cooked in a certain way. So we don't have any salt that we give patients, and I have patients that stay with me, and so we do this process. There's a wonderful book called The Gerson Therapy by Charlotte Gerson, and it explains that. It's something you can get here in this country. I think I am the only certified Gerson practitioner in this country, I believe. I know I've heard some people mention Gerson, but they're not certified from San Diego Institute. Of the Gerson Institute in San Diego. So it's a very specific way of approaching increasing the nutrients of an individual so that they can take in lots of nutrients, especially through juicing, because you don't have to digest anything. You have these juices all day long, and cancer patients get 13 juices per day in different we have one fruit juice, which is the fruit that's available here. It would be oranges or grapefruit or watermelon in the summertime. And then we have carrot apple combinations, and then we have green juice, which is a whole bunch of spinach and celery and other arrangements, that we call it the green juice. So we have a lot of juicing, very simple foods to digest. There's no salt. The herbs that we use are very specific herbs. So, and then we also promote coffee enemas to allow the liver to clean and drop more toxic waste into the descending colon. So that's the Gerson therapy that we do to work a chronic disease patient. Then we look at environmental allergies and toxins and poisons, and that's from the very start. Whether the very start is vaccines. Sorry to say this, but I do not recommend vaccines. Vaccination of children begins this process of chemistry entering and interfering and causing tremendous amounts of allergens and disconnections that occur because of it. So we have a body that we've gone through a lot of environmental toxicity, whether it be air, food, water, electromagnetics, medications, or, all of that. So there we have a way of pulling out through radionics and allergy vials and the body communications through applied kinesiology that the body begins to detoxify these chemistries. Okay, and it does it in a very unified way. It doesn't do it all at once. Your body really is in your side as far as detoxifying, getting things out. So then the fourth part is the emotional release work, and we have beliefs that we hold, whether it be in the womb time, at the birthing, and every year after that. They're imprints. They are emotional charges that we carry. It is, we have a method, and there's a number of ways of releasing. The one that I use in my clinic is the neuroemotional release by Dr. Scott Walker. And there's other ways as well of doing it, but it's very specific, a way of going in through applied kinesiology, through reflexes, to identify a time, space, an engramic charge that you carry. And you're the one that tells me where it is and where it's going, and then we release it through a reflex system. So that's called totality. It's taking an individual through structural alignment, through nutritional alignment, through environmental detoxification, and then especially the emotions, because emotions are really the ruling aspect. Your thought is what creates your biology. Your thought is the external stimulant that turns a DNA code on or a DNA code off. You're in charge of that. That's why thoughts are so important. And it's not just, we just talked about positive thinking. It's not that. It's digging deep into crevices within you that hold such a strong belief that you're not good enough, you're not this enough, you can't really do it, be it or have it. Other people can, but you can't. And these are very deep-seated engramic beliefs. And we look for them, we find them, you release them. And it's like going to the seed or going to the weed, the weed, and you pull the weed out and you plant something else in. And that other plant is a wave. In quantum physics, we call it collapsing a negative wave and then recreating a wave from love, a wave that says, you're made out of the same thing the stars are made out of: information, light, and energy. And that's what you're made out of. We're quantum possibilities, ready to be bountiful and knowing and wise. So
would you say then? Just one caution, Dr. Zaida. I think you may be too close to your mic because we're getting some interference. I don't know if you hear that, Julian.
Yeah. Now and then I get it.
Yeah. I think that may be the problem. But anyway, so would you say then, would I be right in saying that these 4 elements are your quantum healing or constitute your quantum healing protocol? Would that be the correct thing to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then the healing is solely from the patient, you see, because only you can heal yourself through a power that you allow to open up to. You see, it's not, I don't heal anybody. There isn't anyone outside of you that can heal you of anything. True healing and curing is an inside job of an individual that has a desire to grow, to let go. To change.
I watched the documentary. Sorry, guys, I'm cutting in here, but I watched the documentary once. I think it was early 2000s, and it was called "What the Bleep Do We Know?" And it was whole explanation of the quantum breakdown, and how we actually closer to. I mean, and you know what? I read some stuff from Bruce Lee, who was actually quite a prolific writer, actually. More so than a martial artist, but he never quite put his work into a body of work. But this guy Tom Little did it, and he talks about when a blade of grass is cut, the whole universe is affected, and that's kind of got a quantum underlying theory into it, and that's Eastern Taoist philosophy from thousands of years ago. And people keep telling us that the ancient civilizations were a lot more advanced than us in many ways.
I think that's an important. I want to bring that the point that Dr. Zaida made earlier on about healing yourself. No doctor can heal anybody. I must say that paradigm seems quite strange to a lot of people still, because they've been brought up with the idea that only their doctor can heal them. And I had received some strange looks from some patients when I actually told them that, they looked at me strangely. They'd never heard that before, that in fact only they can heal themselves, or the healing comes from a power, greater than themselves. But the healing, the intelligence exists within themselves to heal themselves. And no doctor can actually heal anybody. But I say that paradigm is not something that's commonplace in people's minds at the moment, which is unfortunate. But we have to change that, because the power resides within you. You decide. You decide whether you want to get better or not.
I actually had the most crazy thought after seeing that. What the bleep do you know? And I thought that we don't actually need to eat. That's also possibly just something that we don't understand properly. We should be able to extract our power straight from the ether.
Yeah, Julian, if you go to India, there are some
People that don't eat.
Yeah, they don't
You're
eat.
joking.
I mean, but no, India has
That
all
is some
wonderful
powerful stuff.
Their breathology, breath. I forget what they call. But anyways, you get your nutrients through the breath. You get it through the breath, through the prana. So,
basically extracting it from the ether, basically.
Possible.
Yeah.
That's possible. I don't choose to do that. I like to have a little, photosynthesis in my body, fruits and vegetables and grains and a little bit of nuts and seeds. Lots and lots of juices. That's what we do, anyways. So it's fun,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We want to be. When an individual is in a state of a chronic disease, then they have to change their ways. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You have to change. Otherwise, they leave the planet. I mean, they move on to the next step. So.
Yeah, it's all about behavioral change ultimately, and the model that I developed on how what actually causes illness and disease. It's fascinating how actually disease comes about and illness comes about, and a lot of it is related to behavior, people's behavior. They're behaving in a way that's not conducive to good health.
Yeah, people are off. Yeah, it's being off harmony with who you truly are.
Yes.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, all these things are, I mean, as somebody said on the chat room, all these things are a little easier said than done. I myself tend to be quite a pessimistic person, and I've got anxiety issues as a result. And I know it's completely irrational. I know it. I know these things. I understand that I am a quantum possibility. I'm trying to think myself into the best reality. And you know what else? I'm probably one of the most blessed people you'll ever meet. Like things
Julian,
go my way all the time.
Take your thought, honey. Julian, take your thought, move it down into an emotion, and then have a feeling. First of all, you're labeling yourself that you're this and that and you're really pessimistic. Stop the label, because who you really are is a divine soul having this physical experience here, trying to figure things out. Stop labeling yourself that. Give attention to what is that you really love to be. Give attention to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've tried some of these things. I mean, I tried to be a little bit. I don't know. I'm not trying to put myself down.
The word, when my patients use the word try, I make sure that I let them know that the word try means that you're not going to do anything. You're not doing it.
Yep.
Try picking up a pencil. If you picked up the pencil, then you picked up the pencil. Yeah. There's, trying means you're not doing it. You're not going to do it. So
it's about action. Yeah, it's about action. I think at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, it's action.
It's
thought,
action. Yeah.
Action.
And I would the person that said it's easier said than done. I can understand them saying that, but there are solutions. I've obviously developed programs that actually help people, get to the root cause of their problems and then eliminate these problems. One of them is my Optimal Health and Wellness Academy program. Mm-hmm. And the first two dimensions, there's 10 dimensions that I sort of identified, but the first two, which is optimal nutrition, and the other one is stress elimination or stress-free living. I'm of the opinion that if everybody, ate properly, we'd prevent a lot of diseases, and we wouldn't have this massive global healthcare crisis. So those people who are sick, if they ate properly, they'd reverse their illnesses. And those people who are not yet sick, if they just started eating properly, they'd prevent illness in the future.
But, yes, you're right. You're so right. And when you ask, I have patients that sit in front of me and say, but I eat healthily. And then when I ask them, well, what is it that you put in your mouth? I mean, it's outrageous. It's meats and dairies and coffees and caffeines and sodas so we need to identify, what does it mean to eat healthily? What does that mean? First of all, you need to look at the human body. Is the human body designed to eat animals and dairies. And the thing is that we have a human body that has flat teeth. It has very, very long intestines. It has no like paws, like claws. It has our human body does not produce uricase, which is an enzyme necessary to break down meat's flesh. We're not designed. We're designed like horses, or we're designed like giraffes. We're designed that we have flat teeth, we have very long intestines, and we're supposed to be eating foods that have light. That means photosynthesis. So apples, vegetables, fruits, anything that grows from the ground contains light. They take Kirlian photography of fruits and vegetables, and you see this light sparkling from the fruit. That's what you're putting in your mouth. So the light from a food that has photosynthesis meets the internal light that you're made out of. So imagine an apple. It has 4 units of light. Well, there's 4 units of your body light that needs to meet that. And when 4 and 4 come together, it's not 8. It's an explosion of quantum possibilities. So when people start eating foods that are in harmony with their own physical body, then they start getting better. That's why we do so much juicing. And we have very simplified foods, and we eliminate all the salt. Salt goes in and pulls potassiums and other nutrients out of a cell, and then the cell begins to disease. So salt is a major issue and people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. So
there's 2 points here that you made. One that the salt issue, I have come across that. But there are some, specialists who recommend having not table salt. This table salt that people have is real poison, actually. But they recommend sea salt, sea salt, which has got quite a lot of nutrients and minerals and micronutrients in them. Things like Himalayan rock salt and that type of thing. But the table salt that people eat, that's real dangerous stuff. The other thing is a very interesting discussion is the one on whether we should be eating meat or not. And I don't eat much meat, but I've had discussions with people, nutritionists, etc. And I've read a lot of work on people who recommend that you eat meat. The first thing, they say is that, we are all different metabolic types or nutritional types. So some people are mixed type. They have to eat protein and carbs. Some are protein predominant, some are carbohydrate predominant. And then they would say, yes, we are carnivorous because we have canine teeth. So
no, we don't. Oh my gosh, that's not a canine. Look in the mouth of a dog.
Yeah, that's a real canine, or a lion,
And then connected with proteins. Human proteins is the only protein that your body can break down. Where does human proteins come from? It's not from meats and dairies.
Yes.
The protein that comes from any meat, any dairy is a very conglomerated protein that your body has to take and add. It has to add oxygen, calcium, enzymes. It has to add lots of other products to try to make it look like a human protein. A human protein is a very simple line of an amino acid connected with an enzyme, an enzyme, and it looks like a pearl, like a necklace. It's simple. But animal proteins are designed to produce animal, like when you eat beef. I mean, people that eat beef begin to look like beef, like a cattle. I mean, it's like you're actually putting food in the body that has tremendous amount of stress to try to break it down. So,
and when you eat a lot of meat, what actually happens is you use up your protein enzymes, your digestive enzymes, and they say those proteolytic enzymes are necessary, to prevent a whole lot of conditions in the body, including cancer. Yeah. So if you use them up, by eating meat, then you're deficient in those enzymes, and so you can't have them available, to fight cancer when cancer forms and so forth. So
I've got a quick question.
Cancer is a cell that has gotten disconnected from the rest of the harmony and totality of the body, and so everybody has cancer cells. Everybody. I mean, what happens is you have this incredible immune system where you have interferon, which is this wonderful chemical that goes around looking for cells that are a rogue, like a rogue cell, and then the white blood cells come in and eat that up and get rid of it. So you've got an immune system that's constantly breaking down cells that have gone rogue, which is what we call a cancer cell, okay? You've got that power. But what happens is when you go off balance nutritionally and in your thoughts and in environmental allergens and lack of, where there's a lot of structural interference, your immune system goes down. And so it doesn't identify those things that need to be identified to get material, to be destroyed, like cancer cells. So then it builds up.
Yeah, they say, there's cancer and a strong immune system are mutually exclusive. First of all, you're quite right. We're forming cancer cells all the time, but the cancer doesn't have a chance to become clinical. We have what I call subclinical cancer. And it doesn't become clinical, in other words, produces signs and symptoms because your immune system, prevents that from happening in the first place. Exactly. So your macrophages and the other cells identify these cancer-forming cells, and they take them out of the equation.
This is quite a higher-end conversation here, eh?
No.
Among the PhDs.
I just want to make a point that of the two cancer and the immune system, they can't exist side by side. I'm talking about clinical cancer. I mean, people who know they have cancer. If you have cancer, then you've got a weak immune system, defective immune system.
But
if you don't have
people
cancer,
have a weak immune system anyways.
And so they're at risk of not only cancer, but a whole lot of other diseases too.
Yeah, all this other stuff. I mean, it's just, how do you build up your immune system? You have to think first. You need to change your thinking.
Right.
Don't, the labeling of, I'm pessimistic or whatever. Just changing your thinking.
Yeah.
Start giving attention to what you do appreciate.
Right.
And then start making structural changes and start changing the way you eat.
Can I ask a question on that, about like what you eat? Dr. Faiz, you were talking earlier about table salt not being like sea salt. Then where does the table salt come from?
Table salt comes from the sea, but it's processed. They process it, they bleach it, they put other chemicals.
It's called sodium chloride.
Yeah, and so it's no longer natural salt, but
that's right. It's not the salt that comes from fruits and vegetables. It's not. It's a whole different salt. So you need salt, and you get it from. What we do is we get it from all the fruits and the vegetables and the juicing and the salads and all of that. You're going to get good salt, but it's natural salt that comes from the vegetable and the fruit, not this sodium chloride.
Yeah, that's crazy stuff.
And then it's just so much. Yeah. People just use so much of it.
But coming back to the thought issue, as I said, I developed this model to explain to people how, disease actually occurs. And it really occurs through the triggering of the stress response in two ways. One is through your negative thoughts, which, when people worry, they're thinking negative thoughts all the time, which triggers the stress response. And that sort of becomes like a self-reinforcing cycle. And the other mechanism is through these cellular memories which have beliefs associated with them. And when they get reactivated, then they trigger the stress response. So the thought mechanism is vitally important in terms of causing illness and disease.
Well, your thought actually causes your biology. Your thought rules your physiology. And Dr. Bruce Lipton is fabulous. If anyone want to read about how the thought is the external stimulant to anything that happens in the cell.
Yeah. If your thoughts and your beliefs affect your DNA, so epigenetically.
Absolutely.
So they determine how your genes are selected and expressed. I mean, that's powerful stuff.
Yeah, it is. The external stimulant is how you think.
Yeah.
Because everything that how you think has to go through your hypothalamus, which is the little factory up in your brain that produces a peptide arrangement to every thought you have. So if your thought is fear-based, then you're going to create an arrangement of peptides according, and they actually have an acid connection to it. So it's an acid peptide arrangement which goes to and connects to the receptors in your cells and has an effect to what's going on in the cell. Every cell, 50 to 70 trillion cells. When you have a thought of love, of trust, of hope, of I can do this, it's okay to be scared, but I can do this, that hypothalamus produces a peptide arrangement that is according to that feeling, that hope feeling, and it goes to every cell in your body, and you've got hope running, like hope molecules running through you.
So would it be fair to say that if a negative thought triggers the stress response, a positive thought would trigger the relaxation response and a healing response?
Yeah, you know that a negative, let's say a fear, I'm going to call it fear. I don't like using that positive negative, but I use fear or love. A fear thought has such an effect on the peptides that are arranged on anger, resentment, irrational frustrations, and they go in the bloodstream. They hook onto your cellular receptors that that what happens to the DNA helixes is that they get contracted. It actually contracts. When you have a thought of love, it goes into the bloodstream. It goes in and connects to your cellular receptors, and the DNA helix relaxes and elongates. It becomes longer. So you're right. When you have love thoughts, there is relaxation. When you have fear thoughts, there's contraction.
Right.
So, you know, that's the external stimulant that makes a DNA code turn on or turn off. Because DNA codes do not turn on and off by themselves. They just are. There they are. Okay? They hold information. They're blueprints. But they don't do actions of themselves. The only thing that you can change your DNA. You can change it, and you can also turn certain DNA codes off. And you're the one that does it. By the way you have that external stimulant affect your cell. It's a love thought or it's a fear thought. It's real easy. One feels good and one feels bad.
Wow, that's vitally important for people to understand the epigenetic mechanism that takes place when your thoughts are impacting upon your DNA.
Yeah, you know that's where prayer, meditation. I mean, start there. A little prayer. A little prayer is a communication with the divine, the source, or whatever you want to call it. You know,
yes.
It's a statement. You know, help me, or you ask, and it is given.
Yep.
So
I have to agree. Yeah.
Yeah, your thought. Yeah.
Very important point that I think, prayer as a mechanism. In fact, the book that I wrote called Goodbye Stress, How to Live a Stress-Free Life, I gave 10 ways to eliminate chronic stress, and I included prayer as one of them. Of course, I think it's critical.
Is nice.
Yeah.
You know, can I say one thing about, can you guys hear me? Because
Yes, very clearly, yes.
Okay. What I wanted just to share was I have a prayer that I ask patients to memorize. It's a healing prayer. And, if you were to look at the divine, whatever that is, God, whatever that is, a noble essence, in it being the creator and we the creation, it doesn't really need our prayers. You know what I mean?
So true, yes.
We're saying prayers because we're the one that needs it,
Oh, that's
we're
so
asking
true.
for assistance. So we're,
yeah, absolutely.
We're using words that can bounce off to ourselves. To for example, there's the prayer that I have patients say. It's a healing prayer. It's Thy name is my healing, O my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healer and my succor in both this world and the world to come. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, and the all-wise.
Oh, that's so beautiful. So beautiful.
If you were to take that prayer and allow it to reflect on yourself, you would remember then that you're the one, you have all bountifulness, you have all knowingness, and you are truly wise. You're made out of the same thing that stars are made out of. Your information, your light, and your energy. So, and you're the one that's in charge of directing that. So start giving attention to what you love, what you appreciate, and let go of the rest and build yourself from there. It's one thought after another. That is what true healing is.
Yep, absolutely. I like what you said about the creator and the creation, but prayer has been shown to scientifically been shown to actually relieve stress. I mean, I actually explained it in my book. There have been studies that have been done which shows that prayer, and this is scientific studies, I mean, which proves that prayer actually relieves stress. So that's why I actually put it in because there's enough evidence that that is the case. So, Julian, are you there?
I'm here with you guys. Interesting stuff. Powerful stuff. But I mean, also just in my final thought.
I think we just lost Dr. Zaida.
Did we?
Continue.
I wanted to ask her. I wanted to ask her something actually. About,
no, we'll try and get her back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it is also 9:00, and it is time for us to wrap up the show this evening. Sorry, I've been a little bit like almost distracted this evening. I didn't do a proper intro. I haven't given out the number, and I apologize for that, guys. I was concerned about these issues we were having with getting dropped off, and I changed configurations, and I've just been a little bit busy in the background. So. Apologies for that, but thanks, Dr. Zaida, for a fantastic talk.
I'm trying to get her back.
Okay.
Somehow she just dropped.
Let's see if we can do that.
I'll just try and get her back quickly.
But in the meantime, you guys do know to... Oh, why is this not working?
ZA Talk Radio.
Oh, yes, okay, there we go.
Follow us on Twitter at ZA Talk Radio.
Exactly. And you're listening to... yeah. Thanks for tuning in once again this Sunday night. I've actually been away for 2 weeks, so we haven't done the show for 2 weeks. Welcome to Jody and Dave that I see have been with us this evening. Not sure if there's both... well, actually, Jody's the only one that's a bit of a bisexual name. Not bisexual. That's not the right word. Faiz, save me here, man, from myself. I just said bisexual.
I don't know what it's bi or uni. It's
unisexual name. Okay, we'll stick with unisexual name. Let's go with that. But we haven't been able to get Dr. Zaida back there.
I don't know what actually happened there. She just got cut off. But we'd like to thank her anyway for a really nice discussion. I would have liked to have asked or discussed one or two more points, but perhaps we can look at that at
I even
time.
had one or two more questions there. I mean, it's not every day you have an expert like that to chat to, you know. I've seen all these movies, and I've been digesting this type of idea for a long time, but still, it's quite something to wrap your head around, you know, and you can lose your faith in it for whatever reasons, you know, like you can lose your faith in your own actualization. So it's not always easy, like people say, but it's definitely possible, and it's
very possible.
It's at the height of what we know, you know what I mean? Like and we should, and I always believe, you know, if we wouldn't, I believe it changed all at the invention of the wheel. But if we didn't focus so much on the things that are just creature comforts, you know, because the wheel is the first invention to make things a little easier. Yes, it allows us to do a lot more, but still, it actually just allows us to do things easier. So it's like a comfort, you know. And if we were to focus only on our spirituality and our mind and our, like, the power that we wield as things, you know, we'd probably be a lot further than we are, you know, chasing the mechanical and the technological advancements that we can come up with.
Yes, absolutely.
So I mean, I'm certainly a believer, but it's not always the easiest thing to do.
Look, I know people always say it's not easy. What it does take is commitment. I mean, I also went through a process. I did sort of EFT a few years ago when I first discovered it, and I thought, wow.
Speaking of EFT,
yeah.
I mean, last week we did a show and you spoke about EFT, or 2 weeks ago, sorry, while I was away. And when I listened to it, I mean, I didn't quite get that punch of what exactly EFT stands for.
Yeah, no, EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. It's a very powerful energy healing tool. And, you know, as conventional doctors, we treat people with emotional issues just with pharmaceutical drugs, which is obviously the wrong thing to do. But I didn't know any better until I came across this energy healing tool quite a few years ago. And it fascinated me. I thought, wow, I mean, I've been prescribing pharmaceutical drugs to patients with all these emotional, psychological issues. And then I tried it on myself, and I was amazed. So it's a very easy technique, but what these things require is commitment. You see, that's the big problem. I think a lot of people find it difficult to commit to doing these things because it's so easy to take a pill. You just pop the pill in your mouth and then you believe that it's going to make you better. Sure, it'll make you feel better for a little while, but it's just symptomatic relief. It's not actually getting to the root cause and curing you of your problem. Whereas these other tools, these energy healing tools, brainwave entrainment, and a whole host of other tools, non-pharmaceutical drug tools, they get to the root cause and they eliminate the cause so that you actually achieve a cure for your problem. So there's lots of these tools. I mean they're all over the place. It's just that people don't commit to using them.
But you see, it's also because of the way that they are. I mean, the way that the medicine is established. You know, it's a security net. I mean, it's established with so much.
Well, it's about mind control.
Exactly.
It's about programming people to believe things to be a certain way. It's mind control.
But when you lose your faith, because I think that's the first step, is to lose faith in, for instance, something like the idea of medicine and medicine having all the answers. So once you lose faith in that idea, is it easy? Is it as easy to just, you know, have the faith that you need to have in an alternative idea? For instance, like EFT, like basically the quantum understanding that Dr. Zaida was talking about. You know, is it more difficult now to basically subscribe wholeheartedly to something? Because that's just like maybe an issue that I think that maybe I would face, and I think I know I've faced because of all these things that I've learned over the years and questions I've always had, actually, you know.
I think it's easy to lose faith in conventional medicine these days because there's so much evidence that it's in many ways it's deception, and it's you know, I don't want to use very harsh terms, but we've all been duped as conventionally trained doctors to believe that the pharmaceutical paradigm is actually the only way to heal people. In fact, it doesn't heal people at all anyway. That's the first thing. But there's enough evidence to show that basically the pharmaceutical drug paradigm is incorrect. It's flawed.
No, for sure.
There's enough evidence, so we'll give people evidence and they will lose faith in it very quickly. I mean, I lost faith when I came across the evidence of how we've been duped and what the pharmaceutical companies get up to. It's actually shocking. I mean, to me, it's I don't even have a word to describe it. I think shocking is a mild term. So we definitely need to be switching paradigms. We know that that's not working, and I think, and it's so important that we do things like this to basically help establish the alternatives that people actually need to put their faith in. You know what I'm saying? The power that they have within themselves. Yes.
So
when they see it works, I think they'll gain faith if they try these things and see that it works. And when it works,
and advocates like Bridget, you know, like Bridget White, you know, taking the alternative routes and you know, making an effort to basically establish the alternative way, which I think will be a lot more freeing than what we currently deal with.
Yes.
But it goes with, like, in all aspects of our society in ways like this. But yes, doctor, we are on an hour, just gone on an hour.
Yep. Well, thanks, Julian, man. Thanks.
Unable
Thanks
to get out.
I'm unable to get Doctor. I've tried several times now to get Dr. Zaida back, but the connection's been cut, unfortunately. So I'll catch up with her again, and maybe we can talk to her again at some point. It's a very interesting discussion, I must say.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being with us this evening. Your participation is always appreciated. We've had some technical problems in the past, so I was a little bit distracted. And I didn't give all the right information all the time. So please forgive me for that. But good night, and we'll see you next week. What have we got lined up, by the way, for next week, Faiz?
Dr. Omar Zaid from Malaysia is a very well-renowned, very well-learned, highly knowledgeable person on a range of different subjects relating to medicine, of course, but also to the New World Order and related subjects and issues, and fascinating.
That's my kind
it'll be
of
fascinating
stuff.
to have him back on with us next week. Hopefully, he'll join us next week. So yes, Dr. Omar Zaid from Malaysia.
Okay, cool. So yeah, thanks, guys.
We'll send out the notices.
We'll send out the notices. Stay tuned. Yeah. Please do keep
follow us on Twitter at ZA Talk Radio.
At ZA Talk Radio. And good night.
Thanks.
God bless. And
thanks, everybody.
I'll see you next week.
Bye.
You're listening to ZA Talk Radio. You're listening to ZA Talk Radio. ZA Talk Radio.
Follow us on Twitter at
ZA Talk Radio.